we have jumps, 2 space jumps, 3 space jumps. Oops, maybe I can try it down here. So we have Keimas, large Keimas, all Keimas.
Keimas is a push jump, correct?
Yeah, it's the knight's move in Japanese. Keima means knight's move, and it matches the L from chess. But we also have the large nice knight's move. This is the Ogema. O is a prefix. Oh, you know Japanese, so Ogema, big
Ogema,
Keima. Yeah, big Keima. So if you
big game.
O is a prefix for big, and the K turns into a G if it's in the middle of a word. And another variation on the big character from Chinese is Dai. And so in Chinese, I think it's Tai or something for big. It's the same character though. And from E to F, they call it Dai Dai Gema. So big Gema, more or less.
Dai Gema.
Yes. Um, so knowing the names is useful for discussing the games afterwards. That's mostly why these shapes have names. They do have names in Chinese and in Korean as well. But in the West, since the Japanese were the ones to bring Go to us, at least a higher level than zero to us, because we already knew Go before the Japanese started spreading it, but we didn't know much about it. So the key thing for you to remember about all these shapes is that they have pros and cons. The more distant you get, the flimsier it becomes, right? The more defects. So here, white can just straight up invade this shape and split it apart. Sometimes you can kind of link it up, but at a heavy cost. We can maybe try to tackle each one of them. If if we have a jump, the only way for white to disconnect us is to play here in the middle. And then black Ataris we extend as white. And now black has 2 cuts. And maybe you're puzzled about this shape because it looks like white did manage to cut us. However, it comes at a cost because black will just connect here. We can still cut, but now it's white who's having the burden of defending mostly, because black has 2 moves ahead of white, right? So at the beginning of this fight, black already had 2 moves. When this fight happens, we have defended A, the A group, we have defended the B group, white still needs to defend the C group, and the D group will pay a heavy price for it. So this, and then black can continue attacking this group, and once the attack on this group is done, we can attack the other group, and all the while we are surrounding things on the outside. So that's why we usually don't cut here unless we are very strong on the outside. So let's say we have a position like maybe like this. If we want to cut this shape, we can, but again, it comes at a heavy price because white can just capture this stone, the A stone, and we are weak on the outside. We can, like Atari here, and maybe protect. This can be playable sometimes, but white will probably live in center. We have a cut at oops. We have a cut at A. Sometimes white can even cut directly, because it's difficult to escape here due to these other cuts. But I'm not going to discuss this in depth. Just mind, keep in mind that the cost here is high. However, imagine that white peeped on both sides and then played away. Oops. And then played away. Now, the cost of cutting this stone off is very small because we are very strong on the outside. If white connects here, we can cut from here. And if white connects here, we can cut from here. And there's no space for these three stones to live. So that's why the cut works in this case. It's not the end of the world for white because this is not that big an area. It's like 10 points locally, but at some point in the end game it's gonna become big, and maybe white will regret having peeped on both sides. But those peeps might have been useful during the game before the end game. So that's the one space jump. We have also the two space jump. Tobi is the word for jump in Japanese.
Toby.
Yeah, Iken Tobi is one space jump. Niken Tobi is two space jump. So ni ichi ni blah blah blah. So
Ichini-san,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. This shape can also be cut, much like the one space jump. However, it's easier here because black is further apart, right? But it doesn't mean that it's good in general. It's usually bad, but you can still cut with stuff like this. So here black can capture this stone in a letter, but now we can capture the other stone in a letter, for example. If black doesn't want to lose the other stone, then black can extend here, and white can choose these pushes or the Kosumi to escape. Another way of cutting is this bump, and then black blocks, and then we can cut on either side. However, we need to be mindful of this letter, right? So we need to be careful here. In general, we want to avoid this sort of cut as white, not only because it's difficult to cut the two space jump in general, but here we are getting honeyed with A and B at the head of the two stones. And this is a very important shape in Go because white is very cramped. The Hane is very powerful in Go because it takes away a liberty, and it takes away a liberty in a very efficient way. If we can capture the CD group, we never spent a move to connect our group. And so it's a little bit more efficient than if we had a stone here to begin with. It's one less stone. It's the same feeling if we have three stones getting hit on both sides. However, here white has one extra liberty, so it is a little bit easier. It's still very difficult, but it's a little bit easier. One example of how this could happen is a no Joseki called the Avalanche. White approaches this corner, then black attaches, and the normal Joseki nowadays is something like this. However, in the past, we had another Joseki, which is this bump, and then white plays here. And black could Now with AI, we can avoid the fight as black because the fight is very complicated, and white has many ways of turning this fight into its favor. So if you can avoid the fight and take a little bit of profit anyways, then why not avoid it? You can just drop down here as black. White shape is very cramped, and so you just take the profit and leave the burden to white. But in the past, we could just Hane here, and still a great move. It's just very complicated. This is the small avalanche. If if black, on the other hand, chooses to extend here, and white extends as well, trying to keep the pressure on. Black can now Hane as well, and it's the large avalanche Oseki, which is also very complicated. Um, this is how that shape could happen. If we have the free space jump, I don't think there is a name for it. Because it's not really a shape, because it's not connected at all. White can just split here, and what do you do? White is splitting you. There is a way actually for you to wiggle around and connect yourself, but the cost is much higher. One of the ways you see in, um, I think this is the only way actually. The other, there is an downwards attachment as well, but this sometimes happens in handicap games, but what's gonna happen is something like this. Black connects itself underneath, but this panuki is very powerful actually, and it's worth more than the territory that black got underneath. Usually, in most cases actually. So you should try to avoid it. If you so just going back to the panuki thing, the panuki is the minimal amount of stones to capture one stone in the center, or when it has 4 liberties. And it's a very good shape because it takes a long while for, well, it's a lot of trouble for black to try to capture this shape because it's very pointy, right? And so whatever you play around it will get counterattacked hard. So black doesn't want to play like this. Like, for example, this way, white is just capturing one of the stones. This isn't necessarily good for white actually globally, but this is just one way to break through. Um, but in general, what happens around punukis is that white tanukis, if black tries to attack it severely, white tanukis, because black will need so many stones to capture this thing, and it's only 10 points, and even here there's still AG for us to move out. We just break through. So uh, giving your opponent punukis is almost never a good idea. There are some notable exceptions though. I'll mention one soon. Um, for example, if you attach underneath, usually this is even worse because now white is getting the Ponuki and stealing all the territory.
Right. I was gonna say now all the territory is being lost.
Yeah. White can even choose space jump here. The choose space jump from the Ponuki, specifically from this shape, this two second and third line Kosumi thing, works, but the drawback is that black is gonna have some sente moves on the outside to poke at some weaknesses underneath. So let's say white tries to move out, there is this sort of weakness where black can force white into connecting into a stick while stealing the territory. So just keep in mind that it's not because you can jump further that it's a better move. It's similar to Toshiro's comment on this shape, right? Just because you can jump one space doesn't mean it's a better move than, for example, the Keima. Because when you jump one space here, you can push your opponent on the third line many times. But if it's a Keima here and our opponent plays something like this, we can Tenuki. We're free to play elsewhere. So it's fine. Going back to the Ponuki, one of the notable cases where it's okay to give your opponent a Ponuki is this Joseki. Black is getting all the corner. It isn't that big actually, but it's big enough at the beginning of the game. And white gets a Ponuki on the outside. This Joseki is, well, it's a Joseki, so it's balanced, but it's a little bit better for white because the Ponuki is so good. It feels like, oh, I gave all the corner to black, but later you have so many forcing moves here that the corner will become a 10-point thing. So it isn't that big actually. For white, one of the best moves locally, I think the only good move locally is almost always to push here, because this push helps with developing this area and it puts pressure on these 4 stones as well. Now, if black Tenukis, this Hane is Sente. Black needs to answer somehow, because otherwise we can escape with these stones. If black blocks from here, we just capture the corner and it's too big. Now we have points and the A group is floating. So black will try to resist. But when we turn here, if black blocks, then it's game over. So black needs to protect himself after the Hane. Usually something like this happens, or sometimes we can just capture as well to free our liberties. But yeah, these are some of the key points on the Tanuki drawback. Not drawback, but yeah, one of the ways of using a Panuki there. Another thing that can happen in that Joseki is that white will Tenuki. White can Tenuki, and it's one of the best moves. Surprisingly, in that Joseki, like AI really likes this move. So if you end up playing here, it's probably almost never wrong. But I do like Chutenuki because there's kind of a trap here for black. This is a very good move, an amazing move, but it's not good for black to insist on getting forcing moves around this Ponuki, at least very soon in the game. Black can actually play here. It's a small loss. It's not that bad, but we can see that this move is trying to capture a Panuki. First of all, it's difficult to capture a Panuki. And second of all, even if you capture it, it's like 10 points, 10 to 15 points. So it's not that big. White can keep on Tenuking, and you still owe white a move here, right? You need to block. Otherwise, white can just crawl, and white now is alive. So usually we crawl another time, in order to avoid this move as Sente. So we crawl here, white black extends, we live, and black won't be able to block at A in Sente. So if black plays here, the territory on the top is open. So it's not that big to develop stuff on the top side. What else? So we saw jumps. Maybe now we go to the Keima shapes. The Keima can also be cut. And it's a little bit easier to cut than so usually it's a little bit easier to cut than cutting jumps, but it kind of depends on the letter, right? Because if we go like this, black can directly try to capture this stone. If black doesn't have the letter, then black will try to extend somehow. Then we protect. If black doesn't have the letter, maybe, I don't know, play a Keima here. Now black has some cutting points around here, but it doesn't mean it's a bad move. It's again kind of costly for white to try to cut here. This cut depends on a letter, so it's only gonna work with a letter. And this other cut, this other cut puts us in an empty triangle, and the empty triangle is the number one standard for bad shape because it has one less liberty when compared to the straight free. So the straight free has 8 liberties, the empty triangle has 7. It would also be an empty triangle if we have an extended shape like this. We just say that the empty triangle is here. So for this shape, this shape contains an empty triangle. It's not that it is an empty triangle. It's still a shape that's collapsing in on itself. For cutting, if you have a Keima here, Keima from if you have a Keima from 5 to this stone, you try to cut. Usually it's good, it's better shape for white to try to cut at the waist of the knight's move. And the waist of the knight's move is cutting like this instead of cutting like this. Regardless of the end shape for white being an empty triangle or not. Let's say maybe let's say we just have a shape like this. It's usually better shape to cut like this at the waist instead of cutting like this. But this is something that you need to analyze case by case. It's not a 100% thing. The other shapes, let's see. So the big Keima, the Ogema, can also be cut. We can cut it like this, or like this, and then we protect whichever side depends on a letter. If both sides depend on a letter, then you're screwed, I guess. We can also cut like this, or like this, it reverts to one of the other cases. Sometimes even this can work. For example, if it happens like this, we're giving our opponent a Ponuki, but we need to analyze it case by case. This can also be a thing. Yeah, the other side is symmetrical. Yeah. Yeah, that's the Ogema. The Dai Gema is quite curious because it looks like two farther apart, and it looks like um, it should be weaker than the free space jump, right? But it's actually much more versatile than the free space jump, and it's a pretty nice shape for you to soft block one of the sides. If white tries to split you, one of the only moves is this, and then what we can do is more or less preserve our outside. And well, black is cut, but usually this is so bad for whites because, oh well, white shape is very much in debt on both sides. There's this push that's very painful as well. This shape, so going back to the Ogema, there's this Joseki that happens quite a bit in Modern Go, where white tries to cut, but the cut doesn't work. It's only a matter of trying to get more forcing moves around black's shape. Black can either play here or here, and it's okay for white. It's just a matter of trying to get some outside profits for now. Um, since black is in the corner, it's even harder to make cuts like these work. So in general, if these shapes appear in the corner or on the sides, keep in mind that even more difficult to make cuts happen. For example, one common shape is for white to get the Dai Gema on the side, and later black can invade here. It's a good move. It doesn't, but it doesn't mean that white played a bad move either. It's just a pattern, a side pattern. White will try to contain black or capture the stone outright. If black comes from the top, in this case, then black won't be able to cut things because this stone doesn't have much room to escape. So usually this doesn't work. Sometimes black can like push through here and okay, so I don't know, try to like crawl, and maybe the corner is big and doable like this, but in general that's really bad. And sometimes what black can do is, if black is strong in this area, black can, for example, Hane here and try to crawl on this side. If black is strong around here and it's not possible to capture the B stone, that means that white is in trouble because because now white will have two weak groups. So this is a move that almost always will be a bad move against this shape on the side, but it has its place in your arsenal, I guess. But this is the move that's gonna be played 99% of the time, and the wedge is the key move in this shape. if you play this honey, sometimes it's okay, but if you need to like crawl or live on the side, later white can come back and capture this stone. It would be better for you to just, let's say, play here, and if white connects here, we keep on crawling, and we don't want to play at A, white plays at B, and then white captures at C somehow. We would rather leave it for white to fix this shape from here than give away an extra stone in the process. Because imagine white plays here. Would you play here and let white capture your stone? No, right?
No.
You would rather poke at the potential table shape here, and if white connects, first of all, this is an empty triangle. Second of all, we can bump here and get some extra moves around this clump of stones. And our stones are much more useful than white's. So in this case, what white is going to try to do is play the final move in that shape first. And black won't play here, right? Because the stone is already captured. So black will try to maybe protect the corner or a kick here or play elsewhere. Uh, the other the other thing that white can try to do, and it's maybe the more common strategy nowadays, is to treat this stone, the D stone, very lightly. For example, by trying to take the corner at the cost of sacrificing the A stone, because the side has already been lost anyways, right? So if we lose some extra on the side, it's fine. We take the corner, maybe we even take cente. So for example, if it happens like this, white takes the corner, and if black blocks, there is a cut here. And now there is a lot of agi with the A stone. The B and C groups are separated, so it should be fine for white. Maybe black will try to somehow protect himself by coming back here, or maybe playing some other funky move. Um, but yeah, that's the idea. Another thing that white can try is a compromise, an external compromise. That works really well if white has the ladder, actually, the outside ladder. Because white can play this Atari, black will extend. Don't try to do this, because you're giving your opponent a Ponuki. And even though, yeah, you cut through our Keima, so maybe during some other lesson we discussed cutting through Keimas, but so from A to B, we're cutting through uh, this Keima as white,
Hmm.
and white is also cutting through the CD Toby. And here from E to F, black has managed to cut that Keima off as well, cut that through. Um, and it feels good. It's okay, but the Ponuki on the outside offsets this gain. And the thing is, that stone, the E stone, seems damaged, and it is damaged, but it has a lot of agi still. One of the potential ways white can use that stone is, first of all, to try to invade. Uh, but the more severe way to use that stone is to attach here. If black tries to protect the corner, we can use this tiger's mouth to try to escape with the A stones. And since the B shape is so strong, we can counterattack the C stones very severely. And black still has issues around the corner, right? So Even after this Atari, we can just connect, I think. There is a potential for a call here. If we have a lot of call threats, we can even try this call. But we can just connect here. If black extends, we can still move out and look at this. Now, who's cutting through who? The AB shape is getting cut through by the C shape. And all the while, um, white also managed to get the Panuki. So this is very, very bad for black. What black should do is extend first. This is a key concept in Go. Extending these stones, the stones that gain 2 liberties or more. I don't know if you can gain more than 2 liberties at once, but if you can gain 2 liberties for one move, that's a lot of return for your investments, because it's a lot of trouble for your opponent. Your opponent only has one move to fill the liberties, right? If you gain 2 liberties at once, it's a lot of trouble. And in this case, it's similar. You want to extend. There's another Joseki that goes like this, and white can Atari here, and it's important for black to go down. If black simply tries to capture this stone, black can, but black gave away a Panuki when there could be much more trouble uh, for white if black had extended here. And now white has to connect, and this is one of the Josekis for this case. What was it? Oh, capture here, then white turns, then capture, capture, and black plays here. This is one Joseki there. White can push on either side here to resist, but if white has the ladder, white can just straight up capture this stone, the 5 stone. And I'm not talking about this ladder actually. I'm talking about this other ladder. If white has this ladder, then it's very bad for black usually, because well, we can escape with this stone, so it's gonna be a disaster for black. Black can escape like this as well, but it's better than playing this move if the ladder doesn't work. But black is split, right? So black's gonna have to handle both groups. Before trying to get the ladder or moving out, black can also try this Atari. And it's a key move sometimes, I mean often actually, because it's a call if white wants to elevate things up. But if white just connects, then it's a game for black, because now white has less eye shape. If we compare it to, for example, this shape, and white wants a compromise, now white has already managed to live. And not only that, white can move out. If, let's say, black plays here, white connects, and we take, white can still capture that stone, but white can't move out so easily because we can Atari this stone and then connect. So that Atari is very, very useful. What other shapes can we discuss? Oh, I didn't mention that for the Dai Gema, one of the Tetsuji sequences for surrounding things is when you attach here and white tries to poke through, creating defects, you can actually do this counter Atari. And then white will capture, and this is a Panuki. It's okay for white. But if you want to block this side, actually, so at the beginning, it looked like black was trying to block the left, right? But
Mm.
sometimes it's not that unusual that black can compromise or can switch the block to the other side, and then this option pops up. It looks very fragile for black because of the Panuki, but usually in the beginning there aren't that big co-threads. So when black plays here first, plays this capture first. Next, if white plays a move that's not that big, black will capture here, and now white has 3 wasted stones on the board, besides the 2 captures. So locally and globally, this is usually a huge disaster if white loses this goal. So um, if this thing happens and white plays here, when black captures, white pretty much has to back off, and it's maybe doable for white because this stone is still split. Um, but black can also continue compromising by attaring here. Then white extends, black can keep on blocking this side, and it's a pretty clean block. And white will still need to extend. Maybe white can first capture here and then extend. And this is a possible variation sometimes.
This is something that I know that the chapter I just read by Toshiro, what taking the stones walking, is the terminology that he uses.
Taking the
Um,
stone what?
taking the stones for a walk, in other words, what you refer to as the crawl. So
Oh, a crawl. Oh.
yeah, he uses the terminology taking the stones walking,
Oh.
since they're going one step at essentially the stones are going one step at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, again, that's the terminology that sometimes when it comes to blocking, sometimes crawling is
Mm-hmm.
the most effective countermeasure.
Yeah. Yesterday I played against somebody close to my level, pretty much my level, and this is a variation of the Joseki that popped up. What was it? Oh, my opponent played here to apply as much pressure as possible on my stones, right? The B stones.
Mm-hmm.
And I played the correct move, which was to turn. And then he extended, and I didn't punish him well. Actually, my following sequence around this shape lost maybe 2 points in the end. I showed you that the Joseki is for black to capture here, and then uh, white captures, black gets this Atari in center, and then black needs to come back, and white can play here or can Tenuki already. But I don't think he knew this Joseki, so he was trying to play it as optimally as he could, and he played here. This is usually very bad shape. It gives you a very bad feeling as black because there is an empty triangle coming here. So black will get uh, into an empty triangle if white plays that Atari.
Mm-hmm.
In the game, I was satisfied with playing this move and then this. Because now I have Miyai, I can either capture the A stones in the ladder with B, or I can capture the C stones with D. So I thought, okay, I'm satisfied. I capture 2 stones from black, but whatever happens, I'll capture 2 stones. But black will also capture my 2 stones on the top, right? And I'm gonna end up in Gote. So it's not great, especially compared to the main Joseki. Black managed to get a block. In the main Joseki, it's like this. So the territory on the top left is open. This shape that I have here is a little bit better than if I only have this Panuki. He has a little bit more eye space. I captured something bigger, but it's not that better. So that much better. So it's not great. What I should have played is this move first, and then black connects, and then I crawl, just like Toshiro said. And why is that? It's because black has a problem at A. There's a cutting point there. If I get enough liberties with B, I can probably capture the C stones with the A cut. And the more severe problem is actually the D stones. If I capture the D stones, wow, it's amazing. It's many points and safety for the EF groups, and it's a lot of strength, a lot of outside strength. Black will continue to crawl probably, and I crawl as well. So black will extend, I crawl, and now black is falling apart because the cut is at A is getting more and more severe. This Hane at B is very, very severe as well. Pretty much impossible to capture the C stones. So this is a very bad variation for black. Um, what else? Regarding table shapes, so this is the table shape, right?
Yeah.
The table shape is okay. It's one of the shapes that happens in Go, but it's not just because it helps with eye shape that it is a good shape. One of the major criticisms for this shape is that there are too many stones clumped together. You would rather have these stones like further apart somehow. And with the table shape, you invest 4 stones to maybe get an eye at A. So there's a lot of over concentration here. And Go is a game of efficiency. If we play 4 moves in such a tight space, we won't be able to win uh, territorially, at least. The table shape will appear when there are fights, and in fights it's more okay because we are concentrating ourselves to maybe get a big prize, which is capturing our opponent. Um, so in that sense, it's okay. But one way this shape can be further clumped is at some point, white might be able to get this peep. And if you don't answer, white can probably poke here. You need to like block. We have now an empty triangle popping up. White has peeps here. White has peeps or cuts on the other side. And so this shape is kind of falling apart. And if you want to connect as black, then now it's almost as if we had the bamboo joints and our opponent played this move. Okay, what's happening? Okay, let's say, I don't know what's complaining here, but it's as if white played here, and instead of hunting or trying to damage the stone severely or trying to play away, because our opponent just played a move attaching to our strong shape. It's as if we just extended, which is disappointing. We wanted to play something more efficient. That's one of the ways the table shape can get even more inefficient. And there is still a potential that we don't get any eyes, right? So even though we invested so many stones around this shape, it's still not guaranteed to generate even one eye. Um, some other shapes that pop up that are related to the table shape are, for example, the monkey's face, or in Japanese they call it the dog's face. This is the dog's face. It's like, well, these two, the A and B are the eyes, and this is the mouth. Um, if we extend it a little bit further, we get the horse's face because it's a little bit longer. Um, these shapes are good for generating eyes and doing it more or less safely. But again, it's the type of shape that's a little bit over concentrated, not very efficient. In Korea, most pros don't like the dog's face, but traditionally in Japan, they do like to keep.
They call it the dog space.
Yeah, this is the dog's face, the ABC shape. In the West, in Japan, as well. We call it the dog's face, but in China they call it the monkey's face. In Korea, I don't remember. Um, but anyways, it's only one step behind the table shape, right? So in that sense, it does generate a lot of eye space, and it's extremely difficult to cut it because if you try something like this, it's there's a tiger's mouth here, right? So you can't
Mm.
cut it. Um, if you try something like this, then black can just capture this tone or capture like this as well. So yeah, it's a lot of trouble to cut it. Maybe the only way is like this. And then if black Atari is here, then you have cuts on either side. Or if black Atari is here, then you need to rely on the letters. This sometimes pops up, so that specific type of cut pops up like this. If white now tenukis, black could continue like this, and then white can like bump through and try to rescue this tone. Yeah, like this probably is okay. So black gets a healthy corner, white gets a group on the outside, which is disappointing for black because black invested like 3 moves already. So um, this is usually not a very good move. Black would like to, for example, honey here, but it's gonna be kind of similar. Maybe not that similar, but at the very least, if black tries to capture this directly, then white can try to capture this stone directly as well. If black resists like this, then there is at least this forcing move, which can be kind of annoying for black. Black's corner is getting smaller and smaller. So all of these shapes have pros and cons, like I said, and we have to analyze things case by case. But these are good examples that happen often in the game of Go. Actually, um, there are many other shapes, but those are um, some of the most common, I think. Oh,
So,
the Kosumi might be the other very useful example. And the
right, because
Kosumi
of its
is,
defensive power,
sorry.
because of its defense, because of its defensive capabilities and the potential it gives you for escape.
Yeah, it's really nice for fights, but it's a very slow move because you're just
Mm.
stepping through one space at a time. It's maybe a little bit faster than going one space like this, right? If you go like this. Uh, but one of the issues with the Kosumi is uh, shoulder hits, for example, because you're kind of canceling Tiger's mouse when you shoulder hit the Kosumi. And the tiger's mouth generates a lot of eye shape, right? Usually. Uh, well, the tiger's mouth is another chapter for us to discuss maybe next time. But one of the things I can mention is that uh, when we have tiger's mouth in the middle of the board, let's say, these sorts of peeps are just so annoying because if we connect, now we have
An empty
an
triangle.
empty triangle. And it's again one of those silly exchanges that you can reverse. This sort of reversal, when we reverse the order or change the order of a sequence uh, and compare it to a standard, we call it Tewari. Tewari is probably my favorite topic in Go, and it's amazing for trying to evaluate if a fight is going well for you or not. And in this case, by Tewari, if we change the order of the moves, if let's say white plays here, you don't want to play here. Uh, you don't want to. Oh my god, what's happening with OGS? I don't know. You don't want to play this move. You want to maybe Hane. You want to maybe jump or jump this way or play here, whatever. Anything is better than this. Maybe this is only better than this move, the other empty triangle. But in general, it's terrible. For the Kosumi, if we get like shoulder hits like this, then our shape is gonna get damaged a little bit, but it should be okay because um, we can push on the top first and then keep on applying pressure. So it takes a while for white to be able to show the hit to us. But the main drawback of the Kosumi is that sometimes we have the Kosumi as kind of a tiger's mouth, and the peep, even now, even without stones on the outside preparing for cuts, this is already a bother because if you connect here, it's an empty triangle, right? And if you don't connect, white can just bump through here and we have two cuts being exposed. So for the Kosumi, if you have two or more Kosumis in opposing diagonals, you might have to face forcing moves trying to poke at you. And the tiger's mouth is by definition two opposing Kosumis.
Kosumis.
Yes. So keep in mind that then now white can play at the final spot for the Punuki to kind of break your shape. Imagine if black had already placed a stone here. Then the shape is complete. It doesn't mean this shape is good because we are investing 4 stones in the middle of the board and it's too many stones clumped together, but at least by itself the shape is complete. It's not completely alive, but the shape is complete. Um, the Ponuki is not alive by itself still. Like white can still add moves here and put this stone in Atari. So A won't even be necessarily an I. So, but well, for today, I think we can stop it here. Unless you want to keep on going for another hour, I guess. But Uh,
No,
just give
no,
me.
that's okay, Felipe. But for the next lesson, there is one other question I have about
Mm,
shapes, and that's, I understand different types of shapes. So again, one space, then of course you have two space, the horses jump. I do understand those shapes.
mm.
The other thing that builds on top of that I do have difficulty understanding. Well, maybe I shouldn't say difficulty understanding. That might not be the right term. The thing that I don't yet understand in relation to the shapes is when is the best time to play the shapes? Because each shape has a specific type of utility.
Well,
Every shape has.
you're almost asking me, how do we win? In general,
Ah,
you need to analyze it case by case. So there are no absolutes in Go. We're going to
right.
analyze things case by case and try to um, optimize the position. The game of Go is basically a game of optimizing, right?
Hmm.
In math, we try to find optimizing functions, and it's the same for our playing Go. Um, AI is just an optimizing algorithm, and it comes up with strange shapes sometimes that we try to uh, reverse engineer with theory to understand. And it puzzles us very frequently because we might think uh, about playing just the absolute best shape, like we play the table shape or whatever, but then AI comes up with something that seems a little bit broken at first, but gains a little somewhere else. And maybe that little is enough to justify the brokenness in the other direction. And so, case by case, we will optimize our thinking of shapes. Uh, and shapes are also the best way to get better echo, I think, especially because if you have a good feeling for shape, you're much less likely to crumble under time pressure. You can play fast much better, and you have a very good tool for reversing games. The two best
So it's.
tools, hmm?
Mhm.
The two
Oh,
best,
I was
hmm,
gonna say, so really it's, going back to the question I initially asked, it's really one of those things that just comes with playing, with
yes,
practice.
yes, with
Eventually, you
practice,
just gain
examples,
a sense of you essentially gain an intuition about it.
yes, exactly.
Is what you're saying.
There is no other way, unfortunately. There
You
are
just
there
have to play.
so there are books with shape exercises. I can send you one of them, but the only good book I know, I mean, I know more books that are good for shapes, but they are a little bit too advanced for now. So maybe just now let's focus on some more basic things. But I'll send you a link to that book, but it's a little bit advanced. It took me a while to get there. Um,
Mm.
uh, but in general, the first chapter of shapes is studying the absolute shapes that we did just now. And the second chapter is all the nuance. And the second chapter is like 99.99% of the two volume set. So
Oh,
uh yeah, so the intuition and analyzing by case is 99% of the concept of shape or the practice of
yeah.
shape. I don't know.
And,
So
unfortunately, that's just an intuition that I don't have yet. But I know it's
so
just an
there is
intuition that comes with time.
so it's not only intuition. It's about reading and evaluation, judgments. This sort of thing is not anything mystical. We will get there, but it's just that there are no absolutes in general. So
Yeah.
one of the other ways of studying shapes is studying Josekis. Many people study Josekis by just memorizing the moves, but that's really a dumb way of studying Josekis. For each move in the pattern, each move in a Joseki has a meaning, each move has a value, and if you manage to understand each move's value and meaning and why the shape is there, uh, then you're studying shapes and you're studying the game of Go itself in general. Some stuff that you can apply anywhere. The Joseki moves are applicable in other patterns as well. A specific Joseki can teach you a lot. But well, that's what I have for you today. I guess we can take another lesson tomorrow or soon. We don't need to wait a week uh, if you want. But maybe next time we can finally review one of your games and we will
Yeah,
become
yeah.
much more
Next time we
clear.
definitely need to review
Yeah,
games.
then we will become much more clear how we can get to studying shapes from reviews. Sorry that it took so long today, but
No, no, not at all. I'm glad we had the time to go over this.
yeah, but this is like the first volume of the set, so we need to study this at some point, I guess. And since you didn't know, so it's now
Yeah,
good that
definitely.
we're on this the same page about
Yeah.
this at least. I think on Seisei's library, they have a page for shapes with more resources and a list of all the shapes, but all of what we discussed today probably covers the essential ones. Um, well, do you have any other questions?
Nope, not at all.
Okay, so see you next time then.
Yes, you will.
Nice. Okay, bye bye.